I've told this story to my roommates who are from the same town, and I've talked about it a few times with some of the people who were there, but that's it. I don't even really like to talk about it, because inevitably somebody's gonna say, "Really? We should go do that again." And no, I really don't want to. I've looked for it on a map a few times, but I can't find it though. Though my male friend who drove me there that night swears that he recognises the directions and can memorise how to get back there. Anyway, I'm originally from a major city in southern Ohio, and outside of town, there's a number of smaller townships. Now one of these is known as the country/redneck part of town. It's not even in the same county, but is part of the general area that my city is fought as. In the woods, there's this legend of Hell's Church, supposedly an old church that burned down where satanic rituals take place now, or that a Satanist church has burnt down there as part of a ritual. It all depends on who you ask. There are a number of Hell's Churches, myths around in Ohio, in many different places. For this one was the closest to us, and a number of my guy friends decided that they were going to be ghost hunters and check out haunted places around where we lived. We were juniors in high school, and while all of us obviously thought that this was just some crap, we thought it'd be funny to go there and find out for ourselves and mostly get scared. Plus, most of the people that we were going with had cars or driver's licenses by now, so we were enjoying a new burst of our freedom. I'm a scaredy cat about most stuff, especially this, but I'm the most tomboyish girl in the group, and always kind of wanted to be able to hang out with the guys. So, one day in November, we decided that we were going out one night and we were going to find this church. We had actually been to this location before fall, but one of my friends had a curfew. So after exploring an old barn and the railroad tracks on a nearby bridge, we left. We hadn't found the church. Supposedly, simply a chimney remained by this point. And that's to our disappointment, more so my relief. We took 2 cars out there, going past the most populous parts of the city and through this woody area. I can't honestly tell you how we got there, but I know that it's straight off a highway, then an abandoned crossroad, past some old warehouses, down a dirt road. Now once you get past the dirt road, there's kind of a thicker part of the road early on where we parked our cars off of the shoulder. We did this because once a road thins out, it becomes impossible to drive down, and also, someone clearly owns this land, and later down the road, there is some no trespassing signage. I'm sure a ton of kids come back here, so it didn't seem odd that they wanted to block this place off. I barely thought about it. Now we get out of our cars and start walking down the dirt road, wandering off the path from time to time to check out barns or clearings we thought the chimneys might be at. At first, it was just scary because it was dark outside, old or whatever. But then, the barns started getting weirder, like they were filled with little weird spray painting symbols and other crap. That's not what bothered us though. We figured that whoever was before us did it, which I still believe. But also other stuff, more sinister, malevolent and dark stuff. We saw things like dead owls that looked like they'd actually been opened up. They were dried out and thoroughly decomposed by the time we got there though, thank God. And other bits that looked like they might have come from animals. I was grossed out, but we all kind of agreed that these had probably just died in the barn normally. My friends are now hardcore trying to find out where this stupid chimney is, so they keep taking off through the trees, into clearings. myself, and the two other girls who were there kind of hang back on the tree line, getting a little more nervous and then irritated with every search coming up empty. As we kept going, we found a bike on the tree line, like maybe one that a 12-year-old would ride. That's creepy, but fine. Whatever. Probably belonged to somebody who owned the land once. We decided that we're gonna go a little further, and soon enough, we find another bike. This one is older, a little rusted, but still undersized. We didn't talk about this too much, just kind of mumbling that it's probably still nothing. One or two of the four guys who were there are kind of trying to tump it up, saying, the kids got murdered, stuff like that. No one's believing it though. Now by this point, we've been here for about 2 hours, and it's getting pretty late. Plus, I think we're all a little more creeped out than we wanted to admit. We decided to head back to the cars, and I'm feeling relieved, happy to be heading back to my home, and honestly, getting the hell out of here. But things never work out that way, do they? By the cars, we see a road that goes straight up a hill through the trees. At the start of it, there's a big metal gate that had a road closed sign on it, which we had seen before, but for some reason, it had never occurred to us to try and go up the road. We had a small discussion at the gate. We had about an even split of who was going to go up there and who was too scared to. I absolutely didn't want to go up there, but eventually, we decided we'll go up, just to check it out. Both of the drivers wanted to go, so there's not a lot we can do about it. We climb over the gate and start up the hill, where an old pavement road is cracking and crumbled under our feet, though it was for sure a real asphalt road at some point. In addition to the road condition, and the brush being an obstacle, somebody had fallen a bunch of trees over the path, purposely blocking off the road from any other cars. Some of us starting to seriously question why we're doing this, arguing that obviously somebody does not want us here and we should not go up, but we get teased for being so afraid and kept on going. I couldn't see where the road would end though. It was just so dark at this point. Yeah, we had some flashlights, but it wasn't doing much good. The trees above us were making it very hard to see. Plus, the road was super steep, so you could only really see upwards, with a little bit of moonlight peeking through the trees. All of a sudden though, we come to the end. The trees just opened up, and we have come off to the incline to a flat field. And God, what a sight it was. It's a flat field with the tall prairie grass on either side. I mean 3 feet high, pretty uniform. The path that we're on splits a large clearing we are in down the centre and leads through the grass to a cul-de-sac with 3 buildings. 2 look like they're farmhouses, with 1 barnish building. They were wood, and while they may not have been painted at one point, it looked as if they'd been fairly weathered and stripped by time. After seeing this, I'm done. I want to leave. But of course, some of my friends say that we have to check out these buildings. At this point, I finally put my foot down, as did 2 of the other girls and 1 of the other guys, who decided that this was enough for him. So the other 3 guys who wanted to go to the buildings tell us to just wait there. And while we don't want to be in this field, out in the open, we decided that we just couldn't leave them there. At this point, we've turned off our flashlights because the moonlight is so strong. The three of them take off down the little path, and the four of us remaining stand together, messing around, saying how that our friends are stupid and we're just trying to make small talk. None of us want to say it, but we're all looking to the grass every now and then, worried that something is gonna jump out. It's just so creepy, this abandoned settlement. It feels as though our friends are gone forever. We see them get to the building and go inside. I guess it was unlocked. We can see the flickering of their flashlights in the windows. It was so tense. It was as though we were watching a horror movie in real life. After maybe 10 minutes, though it could have been just a tense 5, we see one of our guy friends coming towards us, lightly jogging, looking afraid for the first time of the entire night. "I can't believe you idiots went inside," I said. One of my friends just looks at us, and I'll never forget it. It was full of bikes, just chained to the walls. We didn't believe them. We kept waiting for one of them to say that they were messing around, but no. They insisted, said it was like they were just storing a bunch of bikes in there, though most of them were smaller. Now these guys looked truly afraid. As much as I did not want to believe them, I did. They looked afraid like I've never seen them scared before. These aren't the type of guys to pull a prank for this long. By then, we can all agree that we need to get the hell out of there, and we start down the hill, hurrying as best as we can. All of a sudden, we can see a car's headlights down the hill. Now, we see them pass slowly, and we know somebody's down there looking for us, because it's so far off the beaten path. We figure that it's either one of these two things. One, the cops. They're gonna be mad at us and we're gonna get done for trespassing. Or two, the people who own this land, or the home here, or something, and they're either gonna call the police on us, or murder us. We know that the road isn't that long, so they'll be turning around, circling back soon enough, and because our cars are there, they'll probably just wait for us. We're all whispering about this as we pick up the pace. We start sprinting down the hill as fast as we possibly can. I'm not a good runner, but I was really going for it, getting down as fast as I could, basically hurtling over fallen trees. Once we get down the hill, we don't see any headlights, but we know that they can't be far away. "Get to the car," one of my friends says, and we're fumbling around with the doors like a horror movie, just too nervous to get into the cars. We get in, and just as we start the cars up, we see the headlights speeding down the road. A giant black truck is roaring up behind us. The truck seems larger than life, raised up off the ground. The whole thing was terrifying, but extra terrifying was that we couldn't see who was driving in the dark. We didn't know how many of them there were, or what they wanted with us. All we knew is that the headlights were blinding us. We peel out of there, putting pedal to metal. This truck is still following us, bearing down on us as our two cars race out of there. The car is getting real close to us, threateningly close, almost like it was trying to run us off of the road. We're all screaming, looking back at the truck, fighting for some distance. Once we get to the highway, we're switching lanes like our lives depend on it, trying to escape so desperately. One good thing for us is that we're in sedans, so it's easier for us to weave in and out of cars, but the truck is still coming. We're in two different lanes. We don't want to get separated from our friends. The passengers of both cars are texting back and forth, trying desperately to make a plan. Now it took us a good 15 minutes to be able to lose that truck. I'm not sure if the distance was too much, or if maybe they turned around, but once we got to a big shopping centre area, we ducked off the road and into the Sonic parking lot. We all sat in our cars for a little bit, watching to make sure that we weren't about to get snuck up on. Before getting out of the car and getting some food and having a talk. Now, everybody was shaken up by this. It took us a while to settle down, to be able to head home. As much as we talked it over, we couldn't figure out what had happened. Eventually, we all went home. During what was a pretty silent car ride, exhaustion was lingering over fear. We didn't talk about it for a long while after that, and we never called the police, which honestly, as an adult now, we should have. I don't think about it often, only during the fall, really, but when I do, I think to myself that, who chased us? Why was that town abandoned? Who owned them? Where are they now?
I live in a small rural town in Quebec, Canada. In front of my house, there is a small forest with some really nice trails, and I would often take my dog Sokia for a walk. I would usually take a trail that would go up to a farm and walk it back and forth. One day, I discovered another trail that would bring me back to the end of the normal trail like some sort of loop, and in that new trail, I saw a really cool handmade tower, probably made by some teenagers. All in all, it was a very strange sight to see something like that in the middle of the woods. It had 2 floors and was decorated with some road signs, which made it look even weirder. One day of October 2017, I took my 7-year-old brother out with me for a walk with the dog, because my mother wanted him to go outside instead of playing inside with his tablet all day. So we got out in the woods, and I decided to show him this tower, because I was sure he would like it the same as I did. Unlike any time before, once we arrived at the tower, the whole forest went eerily quiet. But because the tower was new to my brother, I was more focused on his reaction to it. He seemed amazed. We took a few more steps towards the tower, and I noticed the silence. Never before had being in these woods felt so wrong. Something didn't want us there. I hated the feeling, and I wanted to just leave. Trying not to sound scared, I told my brother that it was time to leave. We had to get back home before it started getting dark, and I didn't want him or the dog attempting to climb it, as there were thorns around it, and I didn't want them getting hurt. As we were leaving the place, I started to hear some music coming from inside the tower. And no, it didn't sound like a radio or a CD player or anything like that. Nothing like a teenager would be listening to. Instead, it sounded like an ancient music box, ticking its tunes over a metal cylinder. I was hoping I was just hearing things, but then my brother asked me what was making the music. I didn't want him scared. Again, it would make it easier to go home if we were all calm, or at least if he was calm. So I told him that it was just my phone playing the music, because I probably pressed a button by accident. Then I pulled him along with me, speed walking, trying to get us both away from the tower. I felt like someone or something that was there at the tower was trying to scare us, and it was working. When we got on my usual trail to go back home, my dog stopped right in his tracks and stared into the woods we had just exited in the direction of the tower. I called out to her, told her to keep going, and then I heard the sound of footsteps and branches breaking. The sounds were coming towards us. I was horrified, and I pressed on even harder and faster, telling my brother that we were going to run back home. Make it a race just for fun. I was going to let him win because I wanted to keep an eye on him. As we were running, I started to look around to try to find the person or thing that was pursuing us, and I never saw anything. When I was looking in the general direction of the sounds, my dog was following us, but she would stop sometimes to once again look back into the woods where those sounds were coming from. Usually, she would bark at the sounds from the woods, but all she would do was cock her head to the side and stare as if she was hypnotized or curious as to what they were. As we exit the woods, almost home at last, I hear something clear as day. The low, raspy laughter of an old man coming from the trees. Chills and goosebumps erupted all over my body. I turned in an instant to see what it was, but there was nothing there. Just my dog bursting through the tree line in order to catch up with us. When I told my mother what happened in those woods, she told me that someone was probably playing a prank on us, and that the music was probably just a sensor that we triggered while leaving the tower. But I know what I heard in those woods. I still go back in them to this day with my dogs, but I only take my trail. I want to go see the tower again, but part of me knows, for some reason, some way, the tower won't be there when I go back.